Hi everyone, this is Thomas from Escape Babylon. This is my first video, so right off the hop, I'm going to apologize because I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty bad. But bear with me. I need to give special thanks to some truth seekers and truth tellers who, without them, this wouldn't be possible. Theologyed, Decoding with Cody, Joseph Aquaviva, 2222. They got some great information out there. You can find them on YouTube. I'm going to put their links in the description of this video. And let's get started. I decided to call this first video, What is the Great Game? It's a question that's asked, and after all the talk and all the truth telling, going in a few circles, a lot of people are saying, well, what do I do with this information? And it's a great question. So let's get to it. A lot of people today are talking about things like how the cartoon television show The Simpsons, among others, seems to predict the future in a lot of world events. Is this just nonsense, or is there something more to it? I gotta say that there is something more to it. I'm gonna show some, I believe, compelling evidence with some movies, some news clips, and The Simpsons, of course. News broadcasters, politicians, and actors, among many others, are known to be reading from a script. But what is a script? The first and original script is the Holy Bible. This is why we call the contents scripture. The world is a stage. It is theater. Once you understand this, it all becomes clear. Unfortunately, in this theater, they're playing with our lives. To them, it's just a part of the great game. I really want to address three main points in this video. Number one, what things is it that the controllers from the shadows want us to know? Two, are they telling us when these things will happen? Three, what are the consequences of us not heeding their warnings? The controllers from the shadows leave nothing to chance. They don't allow mass media, politics, news, sports, or anything of great significance to develop and proceed organically. We're going to start with the movies Get Out and Us. These two movies were either produced and or written by three men that share these two movies in common, among others. Jordan Peele, Sean McKittrick, and Jason Blum. All three of these guys were involved in the production and or writing of the movies Get Out and Us. Why is this important? It's important because even though they worked on these first two, I'll call them foundation movies together, they each branched off on their own path. And in chronological order, Get Out was done in 2017, Us was done in 2019, and the other movies were done in the future dates. The titles of these movies, in order and in the path of each of those three, have a story to tell you, which is quite a story. And the movies themselves, their content is generally quite disturbing, along the same lines as the titles. Get Out is a 2017 American horror film. This movie starts with a young African American man who's being invited to come back and meet the parents of a young white American girl that he's dating. He's a little hesitant because she told him his parents don't know that he's black, and he's wondering how will they receive him. Well, they received him quite with open arms because turns out that they're part of a cult that's doing diabolical medical procedures and basically just horrible things to specifically black victims. And the title of the movie is accordingly, He Needs to Get Out, as you know, in any which way possible. Now, let's go back to the artwork on this movie cover that appears on the screen. Because I call this and Us the foundation movies for the series of movies that these three men will go on to produce. And Get Out is the first, written in 2017, released in 2017. Now, if you notice, in language, we have something called gematria. When you hear the song, Michael Jackson, saying ABC, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. They are using gematria and they're well aware of it, even though we may not be. And gematria is just that: 1, 2, 3, ABC, A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3. So when you look at the title Get Out, you'll see that it's broken down into the equivalent letters. G is the 7th letter, E is the 6th letter, T is the 20th letter. So 7, 6, 20. Well, what does that tell us? July the 6th, 2020. And what happened on July the 6th, 2020? That was a lunar eclipse. And if you look at the artwork, you'll see that there's a lunar font. If you look closely, you'll see the white section of the letters is actually the surface of the moon. It's not a coincidence. So let's take a look at the word out. Out is O-U-T, O being the 15th letter. However, in gematria, we do compress letters. So you take the 15, you want to get it into single digits, so you take 1 plus 5 is 6. So in this case, O equals 6. Then you have U and T. U is the 21st letter, T is the 20th letter. So 6, 21, 20. You have June the 21st, 2020. Well, what happened on June the 21st, 2020? June 21st, 2020 was an annular solar eclipse. If you look at the artwork again, you're going to notice that the font is an annular solar eclipse font that they're using on this artwork, which tells you that this was meticulously designed, and the level of sophistication to make it happen is mind-blowing. So what happens is, this is one of the big keys to show you that there's a lot more to see, not just in this movie, but in the series of movies that's going to go on to be produced and written by these three men. And they're trying to say, hey, we are leaving some breadcrumbs, and you should follow these crumbs because you probably want to know what it's going to show you. So let's go and look. Taking a look at the artwork on the movie Us, you'll notice that Us, the title, can be looked upon as US, as in the United States. It's also stylized in a way where it can look like a 9/11. This is not a coincidence. This is an indication and a warning of the future 9/11 style attack on the United States. So where is this all going? What are they trying to tell us? In my humble opinion, they're saying, get out of the US before the next 9/11, especially if you're black. So now we're going to follow the Jordan Peele path. Jordan Peele, as we said earlier, was involved in Get Out and then the movie Us, 2017 and 2019. In 2021, he was producing the movie Candyman, and then in 2022, he produced the movie Nope. So let's start with Candyman. Candyman is a horror movie, and it's a sequel to the 1992 movie Candyman. Now, what they're showing is the original story. They, want to give you some history about how this psycho killer got started. There was a time when a child received an apple, probably for Halloween, with a razor blade in it. And it was blamed on this kind of homeless African American man with a hook for a right hand. And the police caught up with him and they basically killed him, beat him to death. Then apples kept showing up with razor blades, and it was realized that they killed the wrong man. He was innocent. So the legend had it that if you went into a mirror and said Candyman 3 times, he would come and kill you. And this is kind of the basis of this story. These stories seem to have something in common if you're paying attention. It's really not looking good for African American men in America. And if you look at the first movie, it said Get Out. And the second movie is Us. We didn't talk about Us yet, but what Us is representing is get out of the US. And then we have the Candyman in the series of movies for Jordan Peele. The next movie after the Candyman is Nope. Nope starts with a Bible verse, which is quite ominous. The verse says, and this is God speaking, I will cast abominable filth on you, make you vile, and make you a spectacle. Shortly after this, the power goes out and screams are heard. Let's try to follow the Jordan Peele path of movies. First movie being Get Out. And remember, we're going to use just the titles to tell us a story. So here's the story. Get out of the US. If you haven't left yet, now the Candyman is going to come get you. At this point, do you have any chance of survival? Nope. Now we're going to take a look at Jason Blum. Jason Blum has a path of 5 movies. As we saw, Jordan Peele had a path of 4 movies. So Jason Blum's movie path, of course, starts with Get Out. The next one is Us. After that, it is You Should Have Left. The next one after that is The Hunt. And the last one is Freaky. So as you can clearly see, the story his movies alone tell in the chronological order in which they were released in theaters is Get Out of the US. If not, well, you should have left already. And if you haven't, The Hunt is on. And it's going to get pretty freaky. My quick summary of the 2020 movie from Jason Blum, You Should Have Left, is that if you haven't left Babylon, you will pay the price with your soul. I don't have any incredible, insightful analysis to give you on The Hunt and on Freaky. However, I'm just going to go back to the original. What are the odds that we can take 5 movies out of an artist's history of movies in chronological order, and it's literally going to tell us, get out of the US. If you haven't left yet, you should have, and now it's probably too late. And the hunt is on for you, and it's going to get really freaky. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Now we take a look at Sean McKittrick. Sean's movie path is just 3 movies. After Get Out and Us, he produced a movie called Antebellum. Sean McKittrick produced the 2020 American black horror thriller Antebellum. This movie starts with a young African American woman waking up only to find herself on a slave plantation in 21st century America. Of course, she is horrified to realize what predicament she is in. This is a modern day woman in America on a slave plantation where they are capturing and killing people for trying to escape and whatnot, just like how it was many, many years ago. Now, this is quite disturbing because we're seeing a trend here with three of these people on their three paths. It bodes very poorly for black people in America. I can't say enough times how Theologyed was the one who made these connections and produced even this very slide, which I'm gratuitously using from his presentation on the path of these three men, the movies that they produced and or written, and the story that it tells. The movies themselves are, oftentimes quite disturbing in and of themselves, and there's just so much to see. I even haven't seen all of the movies myself, but you can see the synopsis, you can see the story it tells just by the titles alone, and this is just remarkable.